8-year-old Sophia's $35,000 prosthetic leg meant freedom. Running, swimming, and just being a normal kid. But when cruel HOA President Diane Faulkner confiscated it as an unauthorized medical device, she had no idea she'd picked a fight with a civil rights attorney. Sophia's father would teach this neighborhood tyrant a lesson she'd never forged. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. My daughter Sophia was born with her right leg missing below the knee. From the moment she came into this world, she faced challenges that most children never have to think about. But Sophia was special. Her bright smile could light up the darkest room. By the time Sophia turned 8, she had been through 5 different prosthetic legs. Children grow quickly, and each new prosthetic only lasted about a year before becoming too small. Insurance helped with some costs but not everything. My husband Robert and I struggled to provide Sophia with the best care possible. When Dr. Sharma told us about a new type of prosthetic leg designed especially for active children, we knew we had to find a way to get it for Sophia. This wasn't just any prosthetic, it was waterproof, lightweight, and could be adjusted as she grew. It would last her 3 to 4 years instead of just 1. Best of all, it would allow her to run, swim, and play just like other kids. It costs $35,000, Dr. Sharma said gently. I know that's a lot of money. Robert squeezed my hand under the table. How much will insurance cover? He asked. Maybe $10,000. The rest would be out of pocket. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Robert and I sat at our kitchen table surrounded by bills and bank statements. We could take out a loan, I suggested. Or sell the second car, Robert said. Maybe a fundraiser? People at church might help. In the end, we did all 3. We sold our second car, took out a loan, and organized a community fundraiser. After 6 months of saving every penny, working overtime, and accepting the generosity of friends and neighbors, we finally had enough money. The day Sophia received her new prosthetic leg was magical. For the first time in her life, she could run without pain. She could jump without fear of her prosthetic coming loose. She could even swim without having to take it off. Look, Mom, she shouted as she raced across our backyard. I'm flying. 2 months later, Robert got a job offer in a different city. The salary was better, and the school district had excellent programs for children with disabilities. It seemed like perfect timing. We found a lovely house in a quiet neighborhood with a community pool and playground. The only downside was the strict Homeowners Association HOA, but we figured it was a small price to pay for a better life for Sophia. How wrong we were. We had barely finished unpacking when there was a sharp knock at our front door. A woman stood on our porch, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her clothes expensive and crisp. She wore a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Welcome to Oakwood Estates, she said. I'm Diane Faulkner, president of the HOA. Nice to meet you, I replied. I'm Anna Mitchell. My husband Robert and our daughter Sophia just moved in. Yes, I know. Her eyes scanned our porch, noting the potted plants and welcome mat. I wanted to personally deliver your copy of the HOA rules and regulations. We take them very seriously here in Oakwood. She handed me a thick binder. You'll find everything in here: approved paint colors, landscaping guidelines, noise restrictions, pool rules. Everything you need to maintain our community standards. Just then, Sophia came running out the door, excited to meet a new neighbor. She was wearing shorts, her prosthetic leg clearly visible. Diane's smile froze. Her eyes darted to Sophia's leg, then quickly away. Oh, she said, her voice suddenly tight. I didn't realize. This is our daughter, Sophia, I said proudly. Hi. Sophia waved. Do you live near us? Do you have any kids I can play with? Diane stepped back slightly. No children, just my husband and I. Well, I should be going. Remember to review those rules carefully. We issue fines for violations. As she walked away, I noticed how stiffly she held herself, as if afraid to look back. She seemed weird, Sophia said innocently. Some people just aren't good with children, I replied, not wanting to burden my daughter with the truth, that some people still didn't know how to act around those with disabilities. The next day, Robert was in the front yard setting up a basketball hoop for Sophia when Diane appeared again, this time with a clipboard. That basketball hoop isn't authorized, she said without greeting. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the HOA regulations clearly states that all recreational equipment must be approved by the board before installation. Robert, always the diplomat, smiled politely. I apologize, we didn't realize. Can we submit a request now? The board only meets once a month. The next meeting is in 3 weeks. So we need to take it down until then? That would be best, Diane said. Otherwise, I'll have to issue a violation notice. Robert's jaw tightened, but he nodded. We'll take care of it today. When he told me what happened, I couldn't help feeling that Diane was singling us out. The neighbors across the street had a trampoline in their yard. The house 2 doors down had a swing set. Why was our basketball hoop a problem? Over the next few weeks, Diane seemed to find a new violation every few days. Our mailbox was the wrong shade of black. Our garbage cans were visible from the street. The flowers I planted were not on the approved list. Each time, Robert handled the situation calmly, making the required changes and apologizing for our oversight. It's not worth fighting about, he would say. Let's just follow their rules and keep the peace. Then came the pool incident. It was the first truly hot Saturday of summer. Sophia had been asking to try out the community pool for weeks, excited to show off her waterproof prosthetic. Can we go today, Mom? Please? She begged at breakfast. How could I say no to those eager eyes? We packed our swimming gear and headed to the pool. There were about a dozen other families already there, children splashing and playing while parents chatted on loungers. Sophia couldn't wait to get in. She ran to the shallow end and jumped in with a whoop of joy. I smiled as I watched her swim confidently, her prosthetic leg working perfectly in the water. I had just settled onto a lounger when a shadow fell over me. Excuse me, Mrs. Mitchell. It was Diane wearing a wide-brimmed hat and large sunglasses. I need to speak with you about your daughter. My stomach tightened. What about her? We don't allow medical devices in the pool. It's a health and safety issue. I stared at her, not sure I had heard correctly. Her prosthetic leg is specifically designed for swimming. It's completely waterproof and safe. Nevertheless, rules are rules. Section 12, paragraph 8 clearly states that no medical devices are permitted in the community pool. That rule can't possibly apply to prosthetics, I argued, keeping my voice low. That would be discrimination. Diane's face hardened. The rules apply to everyone, Mrs. Mitchell. I'll have to ask your daughter to leave the pool immediately. By now, other parents were watching. Sophia, noticing something was wrong, swam to the edge of the pool near us. What's wrong, Mom? She asked. Before I could answer, Diane spoke directly to Sophia. You need to get out of the pool, young lady. Your leg thing isn't allowed in here. Sophia's face crumpled. Her eyes filled with tears as she pulled herself out of the pool. But it's made for swimming, she said in a small voice. The doctor said it was okay. Well, I'm saying it's not okay, Diane snapped. This is a private community pool and we have standards. That word, standards, carried such weight of disapproval that Sophia flinched as if she'd been slapped. She grabbed her towel and wrapped it around herself, trying to hide her prosthetic. I was speechless with anger. As we gathered our things to leave, other parents looked away awkwardly. No one said a word in our defense. In the car, Sophia sobbed. What's wrong with me, Mom? Why does that lady hate me? There's nothing wrong with you, I said fiercely. Some people are just cruel and small-minded. This isn't about you, sweetheart. It's about her. When I told Robert what had happened, he was livid. For the first time, I saw the protective father overcome the diplomatic lawyer. This has gone too far, he said, pacing our living room. It's clear discrimination and it's illegal. What can we do? I asked. First, I'll read every word of that HOA agreement. Then I'll check state and federal laws regarding discrimination against disabilities. There are options, Anna. Legal options. I'd never seen this side of Robert before. At his law firm, he handled corporate cases, not civil rights issues. But he stayed up all night researching, making notes, highlighting sections of the HOA agreement. This is outrageous, he muttered at one point. Half of these rules wouldn't stand up in court. The next morning he called his colleague Marcus, who specialized in civil rights law. They spoke for over an hour, and when Robert hung up, he had a determined look on his face. We're going to fight this, he said. Not just for Sophia but for anyone else who might move into this neighborhood with a disability. For the next week things were quiet. Diane didn't come by with any new violations. Sophia played in our backyard, still too hurt to want to try the pool again. Then, on Saturday morning, Sophia asked if she could ride her bike on the sidewalk in front of our house. Of course, I said. Just stay where I can see you from the porch. I sat on the porch swing with a book, glancing up every few minutes to check on Sophia. She rode up and down the sidewalk, occasionally stopping to look at an interesting rock or leaf. I had just gone inside to get a glass of water when I heard Sophia scream. Dropping the glass, I ran outside. Sophia was on the ground, crying. Diane was standing over her, holding Sophia's prosthetic leg in her hands. What happened? I demanded, rushing to Sophia's side. Your daughter fell off her bike, Diane said coldly. This thing came off. It was blocking the sidewalk, creating a safety hazard. So you picked it up? Give it back. I reached for the prosthetic, but Diane stepped away. Actually, I'll be confiscating this as evidence of yet another violation. Bicycling on sidewalks isn't permitted in Oakwood, as clearly stated in Section 9. And leaving medical equipment in public spaces violates Section 15. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You can't take her prosthetic leg. She needs it to walk. She should have thought of that before breaking the rules. Diane's voice was ice. You can retrieve it after paying the fine. The HOA office opens Monday at 9 a.m. As she turned to walk away with my daughter's $35,000 prosthetic leg, I saw red. You can't do this. I shouted. It's theft. It's enforcement, Diane called over her shoulder. Perhaps next time your daughter will be more careful about following the rules. I helped Sophia inside, carrying her as she sobbed against my shoulder. Once she was settled on the couch, I called Robert at his office. His voice was deadly calm when I finished telling him what had happened. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Call the police and report the theft. By the time Robert arrived home, so had 2 police officers. They took our statement while Robert held Sophia, who was still distraught. So this woman took your daughter's prosthetic leg? One officer clarified. And she's refusing to return it until Monday? That's correct, I said. That's theft, the officer said. And depending on the circumstances, it could also be considered assault on a minor with a disability. Robert stood up. Officers, I'd like to accompany you to Miss Faulkner's house. I'm Sophia's father and a licensed attorney. What she's done isn't just criminal, it's a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act. The officers looked at each other. That would be fine, sir. As they prepared to leave, Robert knelt beside Sophia. We're going to get your leg back, sweetheart. And I promise that woman will never bother you again. Diane Faulkner's face when she opened her door to find 2 police officers and Robert standing on her porch was a sight I wish I could have seen. According to Robert, her smug expression quickly turned to shock, then fear. Miss Faulkner, the senior officer said, we're here about the prosthetic leg you took from Sophia Mitchell earlier today. I didn't steal anything, Diane protested. I confiscated it as evidence of an HOA violation. I have that right as president of the association. No, ma'am, you don't, the officer replied. Taking someone's medical device is theft, plain and simple. We need you to return it immediately. And if I refuse? Robert stepped forward then. If you refuse, Miss Faulkner, you'll be arrested for theft of property valued over $20,000, which is a felony. Additionally, I've already drafted a federal civil rights lawsuit against you personally and the HOA for violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Fair Housing Act and the Civil Rights Act. Diane paled. You can't sue me. I was enforcing the rules. Rules that illegally discriminate against a child with a disability, Robert countered. I'm not just Sophia's father, Miss Faulkner. I'm a civil rights attorney. Every action you've taken against my family since we moved in has been documented. The basketball hoop that wasn't authorized, while our neighbors have similar equipment. The so-called violations that only seem to apply to our house. Banning my daughter from the community pool because of her prosthetic. And now stealing her leg. I didn't know. Ignorance of the law is not a defense, Miss Faulkner. Now you have exactly 2 choices. 1. Return my daughter's prosthetic immediately and resign from the HOA board, or 2. Be arrested right now and face criminal charges and a civil lawsuit that will cost you everything. The officers stood silently, hands resting meaningfully on their belts. Diane disappeared into her house and returned moments later with Sophia's prosthetic leg. She handed it to Robert without meeting his eyes. I'll expect your resignation letter by tomorrow morning, Robert said. And Miss Faulkner? If you ever come near my daughter again, I won't hesitate to pursue every legal avenue available to me. When Robert returned home with Sophia's prosthetic leg, she cried with relief. I held her while Robert carefully reattached it, checking to make sure it hadn't been damaged. Is the mean lady going to bother us again? Sophia asked. No, sweetheart, Robert assured her. She won't bother us or anyone else in this neighborhood again. The next day, every household in Oakwood Estates received a letter announcing Diane Faulkner's resignation from the HOA board, effective immediately. The letter cited personal reasons for her departure. 2 days later, a moving truck appeared outside the Faulkner home. At the next HOA meeting, the new board president, a kind older gentleman named Mr. Torres, made a special announcement. Our first order of business is to revise our community rules to ensure they comply with all federal and state laws regarding accessibility and accommodation for residents with disabilities. Robert Mitchell has graciously agreed to help us review and update our regulations. He then turned to Sophia, who was sitting between Robert and me. And I'd like to invite Sophia Mitchell to serve as our community's first accessibility advocate, to help us make Oakwood Estates a welcoming place for everyone. Sophia's face lit up with surprise and pride. Me? Really? Really? Mr. Torres confirmed. No one knows better than you what changes we need to make. That summer, Sophia became the first person with a disability to join the Oakwood swim team. The coach, inspired by her determination, started a program specifically for children with physical challenges. We still live in Oakwood Estates. The house is perfect for us, and the neighborhood has transformed into the welcoming community we'd hoped for when we first moved in. As for Diane Faulkner, we heard she moved to a condo with no HOA. Sometimes lessons are learned the hard way. And Sophia? She's thriving. Her experience with Diane taught her something valuable, that standing up against injustice takes courage, but the results can change not just your own life but the lives of many others. When I grow up, she told us recently, I want to be a lawyer like Dad. I want to help people who can't help themselves. Robert's eyes filled with tears when she said that. You already do, sweetheart, he said. You already do.